Oh, welcome everybody to Kirstin Clark Unmasked. And with me today is somebody so special to my heart. Her name is Kirstin, because we just have the best names. Kirstin, I know, Kirstin Farella, and she is the owner of the Advantage Group. And which I never even knew until a moment ago when I looked it up. I just knew she was a real estate agent, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, perfect. And the first thing that popped up, Kirstin, was that you have bloom where you are planted. That's on your Advantage Group place. And I was just like, that is just it right there. I mean, that was it for me in a nutshell. It's physically, mentally, emotionally, all those things. Bloom where you are planted is just so, it releases all those, am I doing the right thing? Am I where I'm supposed to be? This isn't where I'm supposed to be. I had this idea that, it. And so anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Kirstin to go forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. It is interesting. I think we're always being guided towards the direction we're meant to go, how the universe just provides us with opportunities to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that goes right in alignment with what you're talking about, Kirstin. It's like, I don't know, I think the only work is just showing up. Like, just show up and then let it unfold. And it's interesting that you would touch on the real estate thing. So you were a catalyst for something for me. And it was so funny. Last night, I came upstairs early, which I don't usually do. And I was kind of scrolling through Facebook, and you and Roxanne, the interview that you did with Roxanne Sweetheart, came up. And I thought, isn't that so perfect? Because the two of you, and I'm sure that you remember this, but so you and Lee and I were all at Ina and Lee's house way back in the day. And you and Lee Jagger were getting ready to take a channeling class with Roxanne. And I remember Lee and I were sitting on the couch, and I go, yeah, I'm not really into that whole channeling thing, but I feel really inspired to take this class. Like, I think there were only going to be 3 people, and you were looking for your third. And I said, I think I could be the third. I don't know why, but I think I'm the third. So you and Lee checked in with Roxanne, and she's like, yeah, have her come, all good. Let's do this thing. And it was then that I realized I'm a medium and that I can connect to, dead people. And talk about a door opening. Like, it was amazing. And the feeling I had was there's so much more available to us that we're not even aware of. Like, it was just like a doorway opened. And I thought, oh, here I am just doing my 3D thing. And it's interesting that you mentioned the real estate. I have been selling in the real estate industry for over 20 years and own a brokerage with agents now. And it's very 3D. And then the overlay, though, is when all of these superpowers and other skills start to come online. Really navigating, okay, how do I honor the gifts and pay the bills and function? And, I think that's part of the human experience for all of us. And so isn't it interesting if you had not been at Lee and Ina's, how long would it have been before I realized that I could connect to dead people? I mean, right?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it could have been a while.
Well, and what I loved is I remember you saying, well, God, it's like, yeah, like you said, a whole other world opened up to you. And you were kind of in the space of, well, which one do I do now?
Right.
And I was like, well, why can't you be a real estate medium?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Why can't you go ahead?
No, exactly. No. That is the perfect, you were right on target with that. So life continues on. Like, I realized, okay, I have this skill, and then like it does, nothing stopped. I mean, everything just continued on. And part of what I do with my agents is I business plan with them. Like, we coach, and I have strong relationships with them. I think in large part because of my skill set. I like being close up and one-on-one with people. And I was business planning with one of my agents, and she was a newer agent to me and like a really good producing agent, very engaged in her business. And when you don't, especially within that context, you don't expose yourself right away. Like you kind of float things out there to see like where, okay, I mean, your show is called Unmasked. So maybe you're not doing that anymore, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
I do that, right? Where,
Yeah.
and you'll maybe mention some Abraham, or you'll float a Bashar, or, you'll just kind of launch it out there to see if there's any traction. And sure enough, there was. And we just started dovetailing into this conversation where what she let me know was she would energetically clear her listings. And then when buyers would buy houses, she would go in and energetically clear the houses that the buyers were going to move into. And I, of course, was like amazed and in love with all of it. And I had no idea that she'd even been doing that. So we had been talking about selling our house in Carlsbad for a long, long time. And I said to her, you need to come and clear my house. And she goes, oh yeah, no problem. I'd love to come. And I've had a lot of very interesting high vibe people coming in and out of that house. And the one thing that everybody had said is that it's very busy energetically. It's very busy. So I thought, okay, this could take a while, to clear this energy out. And I think it was a large part of how I have really been an open door spiritually, and probably not that discerning, where I would kind of let it all rip in the house. And so Corinne comes to clear the house. It takes over 2 hours, like amazing. She uses fire and cauldrons. It was like literally carrying stuff all around space to space, and then getting information from us about what energy was there, like very interesting process. And she gets to the front door, and we're standing in our entryway, and she goes, it's really weird. I cleared a house yesterday, and I think I brought somebody home with me. And I go, okay, that's interesting. You did. And I could see him standing right behind her. And he had killed himself, and he was in exactly his state of death. And what ends up happening, and frequently when people die tragically, is they don't immediately cross over. There's some hang time. Well, there was hang time for him, and he was kind of lingering still in this physical plane. And I had a conversation with him and got him, and it presents differently for different energies, but like an escalator, like you see in the movies, of light opened up, and then all of his people, because they're all up there having a party and waiting, and there's no angst or judgment or any of it there. At the end of the escalator waiting for him, and when he turned and saw that, it was like his whole skin suit just dropped, and his soul, the essence of him, went up the escalator, and he was gone. So I said to Corinne, okay, he's gone, everything's good. Like I almost needed to like step over the skin suit to like let her out the front door. It was awesome. And what we realized is she could come in and clear a house, but if there's non-physical energy there, you're just displacing them. You're just sending them to the neighbors or out onto the street. It's not like they're necessarily going where they should be going. That's a judgment, but where their next opportunity is. And so we started clearing houses together, and have actually now built it into an energetic space clearing business. And
Oh my God,
I'm serious. It's called the Clearing Company. It's like a legitimate thing. It was interesting when the pandemic happened, because we had been doing it physically, like carrying in pots, and both of us would show up, and our skill sets are really different and super complementary. She is definitely very into energy and is highly sensitive, but is into numerology. Like, for example, people's street addresses, the combination of those numbers are frequency, and it influences the vibe of the home. And so
wow.
it's so interesting. It's
fun.
really never, I've been in the real estate industry for a long time. It really has never been addressed. And Kirstin, that people walk into a house and they immediately know what it feels like.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't have to be woo-woo or have any extra sensory. Well, we all have extra sensory.
Yeah.
And so it's been such a huge opportunity to address that side of it. And what it's evolved into is our houses are direct reflections of our frequency.
Yeah.
But it's like a fish that swims in water. We have very little conscious awareness of it, right? Because we're just in the water.
Yeah.
And so it's been really powerful, and it can be very therapeutic and cathartic, not just from the let's get your home sold or let's clear it before you move in perspective, but the opportunity it offers people to clear the slate of the space that they're in every day. And then we work with them on consciously intending what they want the space to feel like.
Wow.
Who knew?
How fun.
Isn't that amazing? Well, you had said, and this whole like bloom where you're planted isn't it amazing how when you just follow the breadcrumbs, what is unfolding for us? I mean, who would have thought that because, Kren came as an agent and then I randomly said, come and clear my house, that there would be that series of events, those synchronicities. And it's super exciting. I mean, it makes the real estate very dull. Honestly. I mean, that part of it is, I love working with the agents. I love that connection, but the clearing stuff is, it's amazing. Yeah.
That is, and isn't it, I mean, I know that if I zoom out from my life and I look at my entire lifeline that's in my memory, those breadcrumb trails, that's what it is. It's just one perfect unfolding, divinely orchestrated event after another that led me to where I am right now.
Yes.
And whether I truly, when I look at it from a space of I really didn't have any control of this, that feels more real. That feels more real than, I segment intended and this is what happened. And yeah, you get little blips of that. But when you look at the whole, for me, life comes in and goes out all the time without my permission. It's like I'm out for a walk this morning and there's this little bird. There's a car parked on the side of the road and there's this little bird attacking its reflection in the side mirror. And it was so funny because I'm walking and I hear this little, and I'm like, what is that sound? Because it's just silent out there. And then finally I see this bird and, attacking your reflection. I mean, I could go into the whole world of that. That's a whole universe unto itself.
Right.
But, it's like, it was so cool. And it was so otherwise, or I could just get a giggle out of this bird attack. I mean, full on, it was a very aggressive attack. And then he'd sit back and you could see him huffing and puffing. And then he'd attack, and then sit back and huff and puff. And it was just so comical to watch. But it's like, life is so full of all of that. Life is so full of all these amazing interactions that come in and go without my permission, and to let go of the need to control it all and instead just live, just go, oh, that was a blast. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Right.
Yeah. And I think of you all the time with well, what do I do? Should I be a medium or should I be a real estate? And where you are, how it all came together in the most beautiful recipe that you never could have intended. There was a whole nother world there that was like, well, what do I do? And it's like, don't just move over, amateur. We got this. Let us take care of this. You just, like you said, just show up and live. Just show up and live and trust that driver, whoever that is.
Yeah. I really agree with that. It's so interesting, that balance between free will and I'll use an example. Okay, so the bird is fighting with his reflection that doesn't even exist.
Yes.
And there's that whole, right. like it's just it's in his own mind that the enemy is there, and then he's fighting this fake enemy. I mean, welcome to life. Such a good metaphor, right? Whole school of thought that it's all a hologram anyway. Like it literally is just a reflection of whatever it is I'm imagining it to be, very simply, right?
Yeah.
Then there also is what you were just describing, where there are components that are fated. And I don't know if the things that are fated, F-A-T-E-D, are a larger bucket, and the free will is in the story that leads us to those things. But I've been playing around a lot in my own mind with where the truth of it lies on that continuum. Like, are we really creatures of free will, or did I come into this lifetime with an agenda? And then I'm being guided imperceptibly towards my agenda. So my method was real estate, and my current method for using my skill set is clearing houses. But what if there are a thousand different timelines, 1,000 different ways, right?
Yes.
That I could have been a Starbucks barista, just downloading awesome stuff for people as they came through.
Yes.
And I guess I love that there's both of that. And there is this part of me that can really rest in the surrender of it, because I know I am going in, I'm drifting in the direction that I need to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
No. And I love that.
Yeah. I want to share something with you. We have about this, but last April, so almost a year ago, so I have a daughter, Maddie, who's a junior at San Diego State, and then Dean is 18. He's a senior in high school. They were home because of COVID, and we were watching a movie, and Frank got up and walked to the kitchen sink and ended up having a seizure. And it came to pass, we found out a couple days later that he has glioblastoma. It's brain cancer.
Yeah.
Like a very aggressive. Okay, so you know this.
Yeah.
You know of this. Okay.
Oh, no. I didn't know. I did somehow, but not deeply.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So needless to say, he's 52. We're just busy living our lives and raising kids, and thinking that we have free will, right, in our lives. And he didn't, when he had his seizure, he didn't lose consciousness. And Maddie and I were kind of looking at each other. It was so out of context. I wasn't sure if he was kidding. Like, it was one of those, like, what? Dino had someone in his class that had seizures, and Dino knew it was real. And so we jumped up, and I led him back to the couch. And as I was rubbing his back, he said that he thought it was a stroke. And I was thinking to myself, oh, stroke, totally doable. We're fine. We've got this, like stroke schmoke, fine. At a deeper level, I was thinking, oh, okay, it's here. Like, I wasn't even surprised. Like, I had the awareness that something would happen to him. Mm-hmm.
I love this.
Like, talk about fated. It felt fated. It literally was like, oh, okay, we're in it. And I'm rubbing his back thinking, okay, the moment has arrived. And it's weird because Maddie and I, my daughter and I, went for a walk a month or so ago, and she said the same thing. She said that she felt at a really deep level that something would happen to one of us, and that when it happened to Frank, it wasn't a surprise to her either. And so I think about that. I think I haven't had a lot of push against, even though obviously it's something that could be looked at as tragic. Immediately, I felt God, like in that first week, more intensely than I've ever felt that energy ever. Like, God was in, all the angels and all the non-physicals were all over us, like thunk, just swooped in. And I could feel how potent that connection was. We weren't with him in the hospital, which was really, really hard because obviously COVID.
Oh, God.
He was dealing with all these blows alone. It was terrible. It was terrible. Excuse me. I say it was terrible, but he also, you're taken care of, energetically, we are taken care of always for whatever situation that we're in, even though it's tragic, we are. And so he doesn't even remember that week in the hospital as being really difficult. Like, he felt very loved and really supported. Amazing. So I am saying that because for two reasons, really. It's really interesting to play around with that whole fated part of life and just being breathed, and that we are being breathed. And feeling like at a deeper level, Frank and I made an agreement prior to coming in that we would have this experience together, and that it was for us, for our soul's expansion. It's not lost on me that I would have somebody like Frank on the other side, with my, this burgeoning skill set, that I would bring him in to the show on that side and have that level of connection. It gets interesting to think about where it will go and where my skills will go when I feel that connection to him. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to throw that out there because I think the whole thing is really interesting.
Well, that's the bottom line. That's it right there. That's the bottom line. It's just interesting. Life is just so interesting, because I love what you said. It's like, okay, is it fate, or do we have control? Do we know? Is it fate, or is there a premonition?
Yeah.
And as you're saying that, I could see it just blend into it is. It just is. It is. And a long time ago, when you and I were interacting with mediumship, I had you reach out to Bob, that guy I had been working with forever.
Yes.
And the one thing he said, which is, you get what you expect. Because I was saying there's no heaven or hell, and he was very Lutheran, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to reach out to him and tell him I told you so. And he came to you with an image of the collar and the cross behind him, and he said, you get what you expect. And oh my God, to this day, that still follows me, that I took with me, because it's so, in this now moment, you get what you expect. And in this very next now moment, you're going to have a whole new expectation. And it's just that giant playground where there are no rules. There's no rules. And I love that this came up, because this morning I don't know if you still pay attention to Bashar at all, but
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit here or there. But Bashar has 5 rules, or laws. Sorry, 5 laws. And then of course we have law of attraction, law of gravity, all those things. And my whole interaction this morning with myself was that, yeah, you can play there all you want, but don't cage this God, because there's no caging this God. And I was like, because I a lot of the gurus I really respect are very much, oh no, those are 5 laws. They are laws. And it's like, yeah, but they're not, because you take the law of gravity, yeah, very real, but nobody told the bumblebee. Nobody told a bumblebee about the law of gravity. Here's this big fat body and these little tiny wings, and he flies just fine. Nobody told him that. And it's just like, and one of Bashar's laws is the only constant is change. And I said, that's true until you choose to play with the other side of the coin, which is unchanged. I can find unchange everywhere. I can find experiences that buck that law, because that's me. That's the God I am. And so it's like, to play in laws is a great sandbox. That's fun. But you can play in any sandbox. And it's all so beautiful. And I love that you've weaved together so much fun, just by allowing, And when I first met you, whenever I go into a room of people, there are certain people, and there are certain people that light up. They just light up for you. They just caught your attention. And you don't know why. And you for sure were one of those people. And it's just, trying to figure out why is, you can do that until the cows come home. And so I love everything you're saying, because this is so, of course, synchronistic with how my morning's been. And, just going, I don't know what Kirstin and I are going to talk about. I got no idea. And it's been perfect.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I want to talk about what you were talking about, how it's just a wide open playing field, and that
Yes.
as a creator being, I get to create whatever that playing field looks like. There is this part of me through the Frank thing that does think we do live in a bucket, and it doesn't have to be a limiting bucket, but that we do come in with themes, and that those themes will be met in the life. They just will be met in the lifetime.
Yeah.
And so there's no sense in judging any of it, none of it. Like, I look at what Frank is going through right now, and it really bothers me. Well, I won't say it really bothers me. I think it's a misjudgment when people talk about dis-ease, and that dis-ease is like a lack of ease, and that something's gone wrong in the body, and then it's caused this disease, basically.
Yeah.
And obviously that's super upsetting to him because it's such a metaphysical whip that we just beat ourselves up with, that if we're not, what's being reflected back to us isn't what we think we want, then somehow we've failed at this metaphysical, the whole law of attraction, right? So then, right, enter brain cancer, like about as effed up as you could, like, yeah, I mean, not a good thing. Doesn't really ever go away. The only game really is abatement, is just keeping it from growing. It's very unlike other cancers. Like, it's a gnarly beast, right?
Yeah.
And so Master Frank draws that to him. And it's really, really hard to get into a conversation with him, rightfully so, about like attracting like, because what would be going on at that level that he would draw this to him, right? And yeah, so, and we just, it's violent. I mean, the way that we use that single, what we call a law, against ourselves, basically, and then judge ourselves for what we create. And the irony is that up above that judgment is a neutral place where Frank drew an experience to him that is there for him, for his soul's expansion.
Yes.
All of those, like free from judgment or anything going wrong. I mean, I look at how many amazing people will die, have died from COVID, or from cancer. Pick a thing that we die from. So death is part of our human experience. I mean, maybe there are some enlightened masters that have not died yet. Our soul never, our consciousness never dies, but our physical body, so far, it does. And I say that because, so why would we judge the vehicle? Like, why would we judge the method for experience when that is part of what our condition is currently? I think that is a very human, very low level understanding of what happens in times of illness or disease or death. This is what I think. I feel a little bit sad that we do that. And I can feel the sadness because it's really, really hard to look at that. And he will say to me emphatically, I did not create this.
No.
I did not create this. And I think, well, what if you did it prior to? What if this was a contract? You know, I use my own human mind to try to justify, okay, how could something like this happen? What if it's just what we're here for? What if it's just what we're here for?
Or what if you did create it, but you created it from, because you figure your inner being or God or whatever you want to name it is unconditional love. And that means unconditional love of this. You know, what if there's a part of you that's going, this is the best experience ever, and you created it from that?
Yes.
And that's why, you know, day before yesterday, I had the most amazing day of manifesting, you know, wonderful things. It started with somebody giving me something for free. And then I'm at work, and the first time in 11 years, a man asked me on a date, and he asked me on a date by handing me, a stranger, I don't even know who this person is, hands me this huge bouquet of roses. And in the middle of it was a sign, a little letter that said, Kirstin, I'd love to take you out to dinner. Call me. And he practically ran out of the place but after handing me the roses. But we're having a date tonight. And And then on the tails of that, I get the stimulus check money thing. And then right after that, I get this surprise. My girlfriend calls them nugget bombs. And I've never received one from her. She just tells me the story of them. And I receive a surprise in the mail, and it's a nugget bomb. And they're just beautiful little gifts. And it's not just a gift. She puts her own amazingness in them, and she weaves it together in this beautiful little like globe. Anyway, and it's just, and it was such a wonderful day. And it's so tempting to sit there and go, how did I manifest this? What did I do? Where, where's the cause and effect here? And, and I was really digging through my morning of, okay, how did I vibrate properly to bring all that to me? Right. And I could feel I didn't do a damn thing. I did nothing. Mm-hmm. And when I actually brought this question up to a friend of mine, she definitely stepped into, oh, no, there's definitely cause and effect. You have to find the cause and effect. And I could feel how she went from soft and light to suddenly 3D hard. You got to find the cause and effect. Yeah. And it was just pure fear. And I went, oh God, this is such a gift. All of this is such a gift. It's such a gift of aha, and just that expansion. And so I love what you said about, he's like, this isn't a punishment. This isn't me vibrating wrong, because you're not possible. It's not possible. It is just yet another adventure. It's just an adventure. It's just knowing ourselves experientially, knowing the God that is who we are experientially, more and more. And damn, this is a fun sandbox. And
I agree with that completely. I mean, I remember Abraham saying, if you're not to your happy ending, it's because the story isn't over yet. Like, don't take score too soon. And it's so easy when things that we think are tragic or upsetting happen to think, oh, somehow we vibed wrong. Somehow we put something out there that caused that. So I want to go back to the day that you had and how all those things just unfolded, and it was so effortless. And how cute is that? Like, he handed you the roses and then ran. Like he likes you. He's like, I really hope you say yes. And now I'm scared and I'm out of here. I mean, it's so more of that. Like, just that is so freaking cute. I love that. I remember listening to an Abraham workshop live and having the awareness that creation doesn't happen in peak states. It can happen in peak states. Yeah. But sustainable, like Grand Canyon, like a river that would create like the Grand Canyon, happens just above neutral. Like, it's just in a soft opening where we just stay open, and then we let life unfold. And I had the vision of it being like a little coin purse, like, those, like, it's a square coin purse, and if you press the sides, it makes a diamond shape, and then you can get the coins out. Like, just applying just enough pressure to open that, Abraham would say a valve, to open that and just let that energy flow. I have found that is the most potent creative place, is just above neutral, where it's not, this where you're jumping off the walls or diving out of planes, right? Yeah. It's
a space of calm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the key for me, and I've been working on this a lot, is it's receptivity. I think, and I think you and I are like in this, that I've created a lot through very masculine, very active energy. And, laying back and just opening my coin purse, like just trusting that I can be receptive has been harder for me, for sure. I've had to more consciously be in that place. I had something happen yesterday very similar to you, where an agent that I have met 4 or 5 times, and we've always had a great connection, like a darling guy. He's in his early 70s, I think maybe late 60s, super, super awesome, really loving, great agent, called me. I was walking and I was listening to a podcast with Michael Beckwith, from Agape in LA. And he was talking about surrender and how important it is to surrender, because receptivity for me is equal to surrender.
Yes.
And I was just dropping into that place where I was like, gosh, what if I just let go of it all? Like, what if I really just said, I don't have control over any of this? And you know, that song, Jesus Take the Wheel, like literally, like I just let go of the wheel and just let it go, this life go where it's going to go. And I had not been there for probably 2 minutes, like in that place. I just dipped in there and Jeff called, this agent called. And he goes, you know, I read on Facebook about what happened with your husband. I am so sorry it's taken me so long to reach out. I want to know if you need anything. Does he need rides anywhere? Do you guys need meals? Like, this is someone who is not even in a circle of mine. Like, he is like outer edge, right? And then about 10 minutes into the conversation, he goes, so how are you guys doing financially? And I was like, oh, that is so sweet of you to ask. Because the reason he was asking was that if I had said I needed help, he was saying to me, he would have stepped up.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I was like, I wasn't even surrendered for 2 minutes when my freaking phone rang. And here is this guy that I've had a sweet connection to, but barely know, who is stepping in. He was so legitimately stepping in. And I said, I am so in love with this and that you asked. And, you know, thankfully we're good. Like, everything is very solid and we're fine, totally taken care of. And I knew that if my answer had been different, his response would have been different also. And I hung up the phone with him and I was like, how much evidence do I need that I can let go? Like,
yeah.
I can just.
And you're taken care of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we never know when the phone will ring or where it will come from. And it's like, Kirstin, I want that. Like, I want to live in that way where I know it is unfolding for my benefit, even in the midst of what we're going through, you know. And I know that it will be really difficult. You know, I think the human part of me that is, you know, Frank has been so foundational for me. Like, we do a lot of stuff separately. We have really like full lives apart from each other, but knowing that he's in the world has helped me become who I am. Like, take the risks and the chances and pursue opportunities and do the things that I've done because Frankie is riding shotgun, even if he's not there physically. So I want to remember that I just said that. And I want to cultivate that awareness that he's still there, even if he's not there physically.
Yeah.
So then we're going to loop back around whenever someday in the future. And I want to know, I want that to be part of what I get from this.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, I love that you said that because my dog, who you met that one time when I was at Lee's and stuff, you know, oh my God, what her and I have been through just the entire 13 years I had her. But this last 2020, in 2020, God, what a year. It was such an amazing year. I mean, talk about the year of birthing, like violent birthing. But in July, I got rid of 98% of my belongings. I was still up in Big Bear area. All of a sudden my jobs all shut down. The house I was living in was shutting down, was being taken away from me. Everything, all the doors were closing, right? All around me. And I'm like, what? Okay, I've been here before. I know how this goes. And I ended up one morning, just woke up and it was like, you're getting rid of everything you own. You're getting on the road and you're going. And there wasn't like maybe I'll do this. It was, that's the only door that was open. And there were no other doors. And I could seriously feel like there's no other option. This is what you're going to do. So got rid of everything I owned except for my tent and my sleeping bag and my car and my dog. And I got in my car and we took off. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I was going to go be a nomad for a while. And I ended up doing 8 states in 30 days, seeing all these amazing you know, national parks and meeting the most amazing people and just having you know, that dream. And through it all, she's with me. She's with me through the whole thing, having that experience. And when you have an animal or anybody in your life, you do have those times of, who would I be if I lost this person? Or what's it going to be like when I have to put this down? And you can feel that, ooh, that whole drawing away. And so come long story short, I'm back in California. I'm living with my cousin. And my dog, she's now, almost 17, and she's still vibrant. She's still full of life, still, happy, but she's not herself. She's just not the chasing lizards. She's having a hard time getting up and down the stairs. She falls. And I could feel it approaching. I could feel that time coming of, it's time to let her go. It's time to let her go. And I was in more of a neutral space. And then all of a sudden, here comes that same thing when there was only one door open, and it was like, it's time to let her go. And I felt excited. I went into it going, I'm not going to feel grief. I don't want to feel grief this time around. I want to feel something new. I want to feel some new thing. And she's the co-creator of this with me. And it was the excitement. And part of me needed the excitement of not having to drag my dog around with me anymore, not having to figure out how am I going to feed her because her stomach's not handling things, worrying, did she fall down the stairs again? Part of me was going into that, but I was also in the space of realizing that she was saying it's time and giving me that permission. So it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain because it was all happening inside in feelings. But I could see she wasn't worried. She wasn't scared. She was fine. And the day I was putting her down, I took her to a park. We were having, just a walk. It wasn't a grand time or sad time. It was neutral. It was that neutral space. And when I took her from the park to the vet and let her go. And it just was an experience with death from a whole nother perspective. And it was that perspective of neutral, of physically, I can't see you anymore, but I still know you're there. I still know you're there, just in a way I can't see. And a couple weeks later, I was driving through the desert and I could feel, actually, I smelled her. And I'm like, of all things, why do you have to bring in the smell of one of your farts? It's like, really? And I'm like, dog fart, really? And I said, how about showing me, something a little bit more of who you are right now? I want to know who you are. And on my left, across the expanse of the whole desert, a rainbow. It just started. It started, and it went. And I'm just sitting here going, I probably should be watching the road, but oh my God. I was like, you are such a show off. And it was just such a wondrous experience. And knowing that there's another option to how we get to interact with energy, with life. It's such an amazing, and it's not that I'm going to go into all deaths this way. My grandson could die and I'm going to interact with it a completely different way. I don't know. I just know that all these things just showed up. I may have had an expectation of how I was going to do it. And then it was like, surprise. No, you're going to have a different interaction. And it was amazing. It was just, life is just, I love the ride that is life. And I wanted to go back for a second. I've been doing all the talking and I'm sure you have. Go.
I want to stop you just for 1 second. So who is, so there's a gentleman, he's an older gentleman, he's crossed over. He has like a collared shirt on. It's got stripes and where they wear like an undershirt underneath it and kind of like a big belly. And he wears his belt real high and they're almost like floods with white socks with black shoes. Like, do you
That's
know?
Bob.
It's Bob. I knew it was Bob.
It's Bob.
So she's totally with Bob. And that is so funny. And she's with him in very much the same capacity she was with you, like very solid companionship. And the interesting thing is he had a need for it. Like she's there in service to him. Like they're not just like little friends. Like she's providing something for him. Like that level of support, I think that you felt from her, because she's a service dog and she is totally with Bob. He's
She,
so funny. Yeah.
she was service dog. She was,
Oh,
I spent $7,000 getting her license
oh,
service dog.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not therapy, service. Yeah. Yeah. She's
So
service dog.
so she's totally, they are
Oh, I love that.
sweet,
That
but
feels so
she's
good.
really in service to him there.
Oh, how fun. See what I mean? Okay. I love that you said this because when I was up in Big Bear, I had a lot of interactions with suicide, very, very big. And I did have one moment where I woke up one morning and I was like, this is it. I'm done. I'm done. And I made sure that the door was open so my cat could get out and be safe. And I was like telling my dog, you're coming with me because I can't leave you. And I went to a cliff that because up in Big Bear, there's lots of roads where you just go right off, no problem. And you're good to go. You're not going to suffer. You'll be dead. And I'd had this planned out for a while. I was like, well, if I choose to go this route, that's the route I'm going to go. That'll be nice and easy. It'll be over with. And it was so amazing because it was probably about 4:00 in the morning. I knew there'd be nobody out there to stop me. And I get out there onto this, it's called the Arctic Circle, this road. And I get on the side of it and I just stopped. And I pulled over and I stood up on this rock looking at the one area where I was going to go. And I'm like, okay. And so my experience was I went to go. And the next thing I know, I'm parked about a mile down on the side of the road going, no, I don't think it's going to happen this time. I don't know what happened in between there. But as I'm parked on the side of the road further down, I'm in the middle of this grand, enormous, amazing epiphany that was death. And that's what death is for all of us. And right as I'm thinking this, here comes Bob with you get what you expect. And I sat in going, okay, well, what did I expect? And he's like, go deeper. What did you really expect? And I'm going through all the stories that have come to me over the years of heaven and hell and this and that. And I'm like, and I could feel this deeper part of me going, that wasn't what you expected. That wasn't what you expected. And I brought this memory to me of when I'd been surfing once and I got caught in the middle of a horrific storm situation, lost my board, enormous waves, one after another, pounding me down. And this last wave coming and me going, okay, this is it. I was too exhausted to even take a breath. All I could do was do this. And the next thing I know, there's a surfer there when there was nobody around me. There's a surfer there going, do you need some help? That wave had hit me, knocked me down. And next thing I know is I'm back up and here's a surfer going, do you need some help? And me going, yeah, yes. And him going, grab my leash, I'll pull you in. And I'm like, I can't, I don't even have the strength to grab your leash. And he wrapped it around me and here comes the waves. And he's like, come on, hold on, we're going to go. And he gets me in. And I'm remembering, and in my mind, I'm like, that's death. That's death. You just move from one space to another. You continue to live. You continue to live how is right for you. So I love that you say she's still a service dog and that she's helping Bob with the socks and the high pants and all of that.
That's how it is.
Because yes, yeah, he's still living. He's still living. He's still living another life. We may not be interacting, but you think of all the people that are living on the other side of the world that you've never interacted with. And there's so many realities. There's so many earths, like Bashar says, there's just billions and billions of earths. And that you may have gotten hit by a bus, but in that moment, you're like, well, I wasn't really done. Can I go back and not step out in front of the bus this time? And I'm just going to continue on that life or, whatever, but that's it. It's so, and so I always tell people, I don't believe in death. We don't die. That's what I'm experiencing. We don't die in the way that I used to experience it before, which was, spirits and all of that. Now it's more solid. It's more going on to another life. But I know it's all of it. I know that it's just like life is billions and billions of different, looking at it from different perspectives and interactions. So is death. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah, I really love that. I really am taking to heart what you just said, that you were in two instances, you were, up at the top of the mountain and you were thinking, okay, this is the moment. And then suddenly you were a mile down the mountain going, no, I don't think this is the time. You didn't know what had happened in between. And that awareness that you had, that is what death is, that it literally is physical body, no physical body, but same consciousness.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
the you that is you, the you that animates, like the experience I had in my hallway with Corinne when I could see the guy that had just killed himself, and his skin suit fell. He still existed. He just didn't have, he didn't have the casing, the housing anymore. And I really love that. I really love that. And I think about that for Frank. Yes, I believe that. I want to set that as my expectation, and that his pure frankness is here, and then it's still here. Just that physical body. Yeah, that physical body's gone. I heard this thing once, and I also really took it to heart, that if you were to have driven over the cliff and you were in the process of dying, that our souls jettison, like our souls leave. We don't wait for the impact.
There would have been no. Yeah.
We don't, like, literally, we have the soul level awareness. Okay, this is the moment, and then we're gone.
Yeah.
So when people die and they're difficult or tragic deaths, I love knowing that it's not like we think of them going through that physical experience, that they're already gone. Like the thing that makes them has already gone to wherever it's going to go.
Well, it's like, Frank being in the hospital for those days. And the only person who was really suffering was you guys, thinking he was suffering being alone. Right. Yeah. And
Isn't
he's like,
that so interesting? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like me with that cliff. I don't remember. There was no suffering. Yeah. And there's such a whole wide world there of wow, what's down there.
I know.
And it's so, I love it all.
Well, and you know what is down there is we are so taken care of. Like, we really are set up to win. And so with the week that Frank was in the hospital alone, we had gotten him an iPad, and everybody was giving us all these recommendations for how we could connect to him. And as news was delivered, especially when they were going to let him know that it was terminal, stage 4, this aggressive type of cancer. I said to the nurse, can you make sure, I want to be there with him when that happens? And so about, 10 minutes before that whole thing was supposed to happen, the doctor came out into the hallway to talk to me. Well, the doctor was talking too loud, and Frank heard everything the doctor said. So the way that Frank found out his condition was overhearing the doctor talking to me in the hallway. Like the most non-kind, just like the shittiest way to find out you have this thing. So the nurse comes in, and he was obviously very upset and really shaken by the news. I didn't know any of this was happening until hours later. I did not know that he even knew. And so the interesting thing is, he doesn't remember any of that. Like, he doesn't, I was almost overwrought. Like, oh, that cannot be the way that he found this out. Like, that's too hideous. That is just not a good way to, for him to find out. And the irony is, there is some cushion there. There's something that happens, like when Frank was diagnosed and I said I felt God all over it, or you're at the top of the cliff and then you're safely a mile down, or the surfer magically rolls over and says, okay, you need help. I mean, I think that's the point to all of this. This conversation today is that we are totally provided for, that we really are taken care of, and that surrender is safe. Like opening our coin purses, that it's safe for us to be in that soft, receptive, knowing, even when there's a lot of unknown and it looks different than we thought we wished it would. Mm-hmm. The most powerful creation is that soft, open, receptive.
Yeah, it's that surrender. That surrender is everything. Because when you interact with suicide, there is a moment where you're in pure surrender. You've let go of all your resistance because it's over. It's done. You're done. You don't have to worry about money anymore. You don't have to be afraid of death. You don't have to be afraid of anything. You're in Pierce, let go. There is that moment when you're right up against that. And it, whoosh, here comes the change, the continue on of life. Here comes, I had a young lady who, when I was doing all the channeling and all that, she had taken a bus she just trusted all the guidance that just follow your joy. So her joy was to spend every cent she had and take a bus to Florida. And when she got to Florida, she knew there'd be breadcrumbs to take care of her. Well, she gets to Florida, she gets off the bus, and I don't know where I am. I don't know anybody here. I'm in a completely strange place. What do I do? And she starts having anxiety attack. So she goes into the bus terminal and she sits there and she's just waiting for her angels to swoop in and save her. And it's not happening how she's imagining it's supposed to happen. So she goes to an ATM. She knows she's got no money, but she goes to the ATM and swipes it, and it's insufficient funds. She just tries to get $20 so she can have food. Insufficient funds, insufficient funds, insufficient funds. So she decides she's going to kill herself. So she goes into the bus terminal's bathroom, waits till the bus terminal closes down, has a plastic bag, puts it over her head. She's got it here. And, she said in that moment, she just let go. She's like, I'm done. I'm not worried about the money anymore. No more insufficient funds. I'm not worried about starving. I'm not worried about all these things that could happen, that aren't happening, but could happen. Let it all go. And just as she let all that go, she felt this, go try your ATM one more time. Just go try it one more time. She went to the ATM, and the ATMs, at that time, you could only get $200 out. And she just kept feeling 300, swiped the card, typed in 300, poop, out comes $300. And she was able to buy a bus ticket, get back home where she felt safe. And that's when she reached out to me and went, why did this happen? I'm like, wait a minute, back up to that poof, $300, and that's exactly what happened to me on my little jaunt around the United States. I got to a space of insufficient funds. I was in a complete panic space. I'd had an anxiety attack, was puking. And the next thing I know, $1,000 landed in my lap, and I was able to run back home where I felt safe, where I felt taken care of. And then life continued on. And it's just, one thing I find is what you say. The universe has always got our back.
Yeah.
It's always got our back. Even when we're in our most freaked out, non-surrender aspect of ourselves, the universe has always got us. And why, oh, universe, it is. And you said it a minute ago, we are so set up to win. In fact, that's going to be the title. I immediately grabbed my pen. I was like, write that down. That was perfect.
Yeah,
we are,
it is perfect.
at all times. We are so, and it's just, life comes in and goes out without our permission. The cancer, all these things, but it is set up. All of it is set up for us to win. Win.
Yeah, I'm really, really feeling that. And the key piece in both of your stories was that moment of surrender, just letting go.
Yeah. Quit trying to control it all. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like, I'm just going to turn it over.
Yeah. There is that. I was doing a podcast with Sherilyn about a couple podcasts ago. And we were talking about being able to change our realities and everything. And I was saying, I can close my eyes and I could be listening to a little babbling brook, and I can imagine that I'm there, and it can get very palpably real. It could get very palpably real. But there is that deeper part of me that knows, no matter how much I play, that knows when I open my eyes, I'm going to be right here. And I'm almost feeling like that's what's calling me, Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's calling me. There's the play, and there's, like you said, the fate, and there's all of that. And underneath all of that, there's this part of us that everything comes and goes. Everything, our thoughts, our experiences, relationships, our moods, everything comes and goes. But there's that one part of us that never goes. Mm-hmm. That's you. It's you. Mm-hmm. And is that calling us to pay more attention here, right here. And it's, Roxanne calls it the isness of the now. Her and her fancy words. I'm like, Roxanne, talk English. Objectivity and subjectivity. And I'm like, nah, my brain.
No, I know, I love it.
I do too. But yeah.
But you're on something really important right now, like right on it. And so the idea is there is that part of you that exists always, that never dies, like that is underneath all the layers, that kernel of you. And it is what is present, like it's here in this moment. Yeah. And so the doorway, the pathway to all of it, like everything that we imagine and that we think we want, that is where the opening to all of that is like bringing it right back to that present version of you. Yeah. And then when we sprinkle a little surrender on that, where we just trust that we are cared for, that we are loved. I just think that there's really not, I think it's a shortcut, first of all. I think it's the quickest way to manifest, the quickest way to create in that soft, open place. Yeah. I do get the idea, maybe this is my human ego part, that we can sprinkle little intentions in from that place, but maybe not. Maybe that's muddying the water. I mean, maybe the idea is God or the universe knows, because it's fated, knows exactly the direction that we're heading. And the more that I just let go and show up and be kind and open, and take action when I'm inspired, I really like that also. It's so soft though. And when I feel the energy of it, it's really low in my body. Like it's really grounded. Like it's not a head thing at all. It doesn't even feel like a heart thing. For me, it's even lower. It's like just being rooted. Oh my God, blooming where you're planted.
And where we started.
Right?
Yes. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that, and it really, I love, because, Roxanne talks about it as unconditional. And it is as close to, it's just pure unconditionalness. It can be everything and nothing. It can be whatever we need it to be, because it is pure unconditional. It's just, there's no conditions to it. And so it's, if we need definitions and want to sprinkle this and that on it, perfect. And if we want it just to be an open space of pure surrender, like you're sitting underwater and it's just quiet and there's nothing there, it's just still and beautiful and just quiet, it can be that too.
Yeah, I really love that. I want to comment on something, and I think this is one of your biggest strengths. And you've mentioned it a couple times since we've been talking, that questioning the status quo, questioning the belief that will immediately come in, like the container that situation lives in, and asking, is that really true? Is that really true? And you were talking about there being the opposite side of the coin. Like there always is. I mean, we live in duality in this dimension, right? It is polarized. I think it gets super, super interesting when you stop being spoon-fed and you start to get a little glimpse that there could be an alternative, that there could be another version or another reality or another truth. And you said something about that, like a truth that is as equally true as what we're looking at right now that we think is true, and it's the exact opposite.
Yeah. Well, what's the other side of the coin of duality? Non-duality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny. We talk about how we live in a world of infinite possibilities. And it's like, okay, that means that I am infinite possibility. So I can't possibly be caged. I can play in a cage. I can play there. But in the next other side of the coin of that is wide open. And it's all there. It's all there for us to play in. And there is those times where I really need the parameters. I need the frame. I need that blanket wrapped around me. I need it. And then in the next moment, 3 throw that blanket off. And the thing is like I said a minute ago, no matter what sandbox I'm playing in, I always come back to me. It's that me that was there when I was 30. It's that me that was there when I was 20. That me that didn't need to be born. That me that isn't mature or immature. I always come back to her. And I could be in the middle of the grandest epiphany and the most amazing, otherworldly experience. And I always come back to me. I always come back to me. And and the more I try and grasp and find out who me is, the more she slips through my fingers. Because it's just like Roxanne said, the isness of the now. It is the real now, not the now that we can grasp, because that's already gone, right? That's already the past.
Right. I think that is such spiritual maturation, what you're describing right now, when, having that realization that that part of us never dies. And it's like the ongoing font of all abundance is, I've been playing around with that a lot, with what I've been with Frank, that I never, that part of me never dies. Like I will always be there for myself in that way, regardless of who the physical players are. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm really feeling what you're saying. I've been having a real experience of that also, because it begins and ends there.
Yeah.
With that version, that part of me. And once I connect to that, I connect to her, then I know that I really am completely safe. Like that nothing can go wrong. And that is, I think, for all of us in this human experience, really important for us to know that.
Yeah. Boom.
Go us.
I know, right?
That was so fun.
I know. This is why I love talking to you. I have very strongly, the whole intention of this podcast was to put out the intention to draw to me visionaries, people who are flexible, who are solid in what they're playing with right now, but are flexible enough to go, wow, that's an amazing perspective, including myself, to be able, not the this is right and this is wrong, but to go, wow, that was such a cool just to expand together with, to building block with it, and
I love that.
I called you and I was like going, I have no idea what Kirstin and I are going to talk about.
I know.
And it was oh my God, it's been way past an hour. And I'm just like going, that was the best time ever.
Yeah. I really loved that. And the reason it works, Kirstin, is how open you are. And that there was no agenda. And when I got on, I was like, what are we going to talk about? You're like, whatever, we're going to talk about whatever happens. I mean, that is surrender. That is you embodying, like exemplifying what surrender looks like.
Oh my God, look how we just keep coming back around.
I love it. I'm really happy for you.
I give Frank the biggest hug for me. I love what you all are creating together. I really love, and I can't wait to see when you get on the other side, and then the other side and the other side, to hear the, we can so go into situations from the polarity, and then we can also go into it from non-duality. And it's just so exciting. And I truly believe it's, how you always have an octave up, you kind of, if you've ever played piano, you start down here and you've got, C, D, E, F, G, and then you start over again, C, D, E, F, G, and it just keeps going up an octave. I think that's what our lives are. We never repeat things. We're just keep going up an octave and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I can't wait to hear.
Really good. Really good. Yes. Yes, I totally agree. I know that there's like a whole spiral theory, and it's that same thing, that it feels like we're meeting something that's similar, but we're meeting it at a higher level.
Yes. Totally. Yeah.
I can definitely feel that.
Yay. Oh, I don't want to let you go, but I got to. I'm going to go play with my grandbaby now.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to play on the beach.
Oh, that's so fun. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Me
you.
too.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, if you ever need just a chat about this,
Thank you.
because you're going through something with Frank or whatever, reach out to me, please, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that. Definitely. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I absolutely adore you, honey. Thank you for being
Rebecca,
here.
too. Yes, thanks for having me.
All right. I'm going to
I'll
let you
talk
go
to
now.
soon. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.